All right, thank you. Again, welcome all to the Cafe con Leche series, where we're going to be featuring SCC alumni and celebrating their success and achievement and talking to them to learn more about their journey, success, and some of the barriers they're faced. First, I would like to introduce Monica Spafford. Monica was born and raised in Cali, Colombia. In August 2001, she moved to the United States in the hopes to learn English. Then in 2002, she began her career at Sccc as a student taking English courses to learn English and to pursue a nursing degree. However, due to a family emergency, Monica had to move back to Colombia and she had to suspend her study for a while. Years later, she came back to Sccc and through hard work and dedication, graduated from the respiratory care program at Sccc. Right after completing her program, she began her career as a bilingual Spanish-English respiratory therapist at Holyoke Hospital, where she worked for many years. In 2014, her and her husband had the opportunity to buy a medical store in West Springfield called Footed. They have now owned the store for the past 7 years and they've grown their business immensely. And they even have hired SCCC students who still work there today. I would also like to point out that as of April 2021, their store name has changed and is now going to be called US Medical Supply. Thank you. Next, we have Helen Exposito. Helen Exposito is an international woman born in Caracas, Venezuela. She started her career in 2002, taking English courses at Sccc as a student, and later obtained an associate degree in business administration, and went on to complete a degree in human services at Springfield College. She has been working at Springfield Housing Authority for the past 15 years, and since has received many certificates. Recovery coach, academic coach, ethics and boundaries, Latinos addiction counselor training, and technical assistant program, just to name a few. She is a proud mother of 3 boys, and her mother is her ultimate role model and the person who she credits her strength to. Next, we have Luda Dokina. Luda was born in Kyrgyzstan and grew up in Lithuania. And she moved to West Springfield at the age of 13. In 2007 to 2008, she was a student body president at Springfield Technical Community College and graduated with honors and obtained an associate degree in business management and accounting. She then transferred to Springfield College where she studied business management and sports and recreation management. And just after 2 years at Springfield College, she graduated with honors and obtained 2 bachelor's degrees. After graduating college, she got a full-time job as a hedge fund accountant at SSNC. And she is currently a senior internal auditor at Encore Boston Harbor, Massachusetts. And last but not least, I have the pleasure and honor of introducing you to my colleague and coworker, Carol Flores, who day in and day out, I get to see not only the contribution that she continues to make to the SCCC community, but also the contribution she makes to our students and the impact she has had on our students. And I get to see that day in and day out. I'm thankful for that. Carol Flores was born in Caguas, Puerto Rico, and she moved to Springfield, Massachusetts when she was 8 years old. She's a first-generation college student, and in 1998, completed her associate in business executive administration at SCCC. After graduation, she worked for MassMutual as the assistant to the manager of the performance center and assistant to the vice president of education material design. She also served as the payroll coordinator for First Notice System. In 2000, she returned to work at SCCC in the Student Activities Office and pursued her second associate's degree in business management. She then went on to complete her bachelor's degree in business management and marketing in 2009. In December 2013, she received her master's degree in public administration with a concentration in public management, and she did so with high honors. In 2014, she became an academic counselor with TRIO Student Support Services here at Sccc. She has dedicated over 2 decades to the Sccc campus community and truly enjoys transforming student lives. She's a proud mother of 2, a boy and a girl, and is currently pursuing a counselor certification in alcohol and drug abuse. Thank you and welcome, all of you. Okay, we'll now move to the question part of the session today. So now that we talked about a little bit about each and every one of your backgrounds, what I would like to know is, based on your unique background and unique experience, what is the history behind International Women's Day and how was it brought to SCCC from your own perspective? And we can start first with Monica, if she's here to join us today. I believe Monica's not here today. She won't be able to be here, but I do believe that we do have permission for one of her colleagues to speak on her behalf. Would that be you, Carol?
Yes, that's me.
Thank you.
So what I can say on her behalf is she is the initiator who started the International Women's Day by just coming to me as when she was a student and I worked in student activities. She's like, hey, where I'm from in Colombia, we celebrate International Women's Day. How come they don't celebrate it here? And I told her, hey, so tell me more about it, because I really had no idea about International Women's Day. And it was Monica, the initiator of getting together. And we liked it so much that year that the following year, we just took the event to newer heights and invited women from the community and colleagues to talk about it. So I then took it upon to make it even more of a coordinated event. And that's from her behalf, how Women's Day started, and it was brought to SDCC. I think Helen can go next.
As one of the members, I really feel happy that the girls invited me to this first meeting. And we have a lot of fun the first time, but during the process, Carol has invited other powerful women into our meetings, which during the process, I really learned a lot how women can make a difference in the whole world, and how about the story about, I have learned a lot about International Women's Day and how women can, how powerful we are, you know, what we can do for the community and for ourselves.
Thank you for sharing that. Luda?
So, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, my history is a little bit different, but kind of coincides with Monica, Carol, and Helen at the same time. So prior to moving to United States, it was always celebrated. March 8th was our International Women's Day. It was very known for my dad to bring flowers to mom and I. And when we moved to the States, it was very odd that such a great country did not do anything. It was not even known. And as Monica brought it up to Carol, I was working as a work study with Carol and student activities office. So then Carol asked me the same questions like, oh, have you heard of this? I was like, absolutely. So that's how the whole thing started. initially of putting this event together and just becoming more of a annual thing where we all get together and share our stories and encourage each other and are just there to help and support. And I guess that's how it all began back a long time ago, 16 years ago, gosh.
Thank you.
Time flies.
Thank you so much for sharing. Carol?
Well, for me, again, when Monica brought it up to me, I was really impressed with how everywhere they celebrate this day. And I decided to do a little bit more research on it. And when I was baffled that it all began here in the United States. And the fact that United States didn't celebrate it, it caught me off guard. And it was such a great and powerful movement that women did all over the world. And that's before technology. You know, women were moving and becoming strong and, you know, working for their rights and wanted equal rights too. And I was just baffled. And I'm like, of course, we have to celebrate this. And I was very thankful to Monica for bringing it up to me, because without that, I don't think 16 years later, we could have continued to celebrate it. And it has been an event that for some reason, it became a small passion of mine to make it bigger and bigger every day to help women out there, you know, be heard and encourage each other and become friends and mentors and peers and contribute. So that's how I saw it.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. So before you came to SCCC, and we can go in the same order that we did before you came to SCCC, what obstacles or barriers did you face? Starting with Monica. Carol, you can speak on her behalf again.
Yeah, with her, a lot of her obstacles was, you know, the English barrier. She came to United States because she was getting her bachelor's degree from Colombia, and one of the requirements, because she was studying international business, and one of the requirements was for her to learn English. So she came here to do just that, and then her goal was to return back to Colombia to finish her educational journey. But when she came to United States, she met her current husband, and English was the biggest obstacle. And also, you know, going through the process of citizenship. So she had a lot of those barriers that a lot of our non-citizens had. And so she's one of these individuals who persisted. And I remember she took her English and Spanish dictionary wherever she went. I gotta say that in a very short amount of time, she learned the language and she succeeded, but her obstacles mainly was the English classes and the citizenship.
Okay, thank you. Helen, you still with us?
Yes, I am. Well, as well as Monica, I'm from Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela, and I have the same experience. The language was my barrier, and I'm still working on it. I studied 3 years English. Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah,
I got
that's fine.
And like I say, studying 3 years of English was, I felt like it was falling behind, but at the same time, I understood that it needed to be so I could be more to grow for growth. And is learning another language. So if we think about it, it's another career. So I was like, yeah, I have to do it. And when I came to the United States, I fall in love to the fact that there is more safety and security here in the place. It was nice, it's clean, it's totally different than where is Caracas, Venezuela. So I say, yes, I want to stay here. I don't want to go back. My mother came and we decided to stay in this beautiful country, which we enjoy every single day that we came in. That was one of my barriers, the language. And I don't feel like anything else, no, to be honest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. I keep nodding my head because, you know, when I came to this country, I too faced some of the same barriers that you face with the language barrier. Even so that it took me 7 years to get my bachelor's degree. And one of the main reasons for that was the language barrier. So I hear you and I see where you're coming from. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Luda?
Yeah, so continue on from what you said. I think language barrier is to probably like one of the biggest things that you can face when you're coming into this country, because you're coming from, you know, Venezuela, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Lithuania, Kyrgyzstan. It's just different nationalities all over the place, and each country has their own languages. So coming here, obviously, you need to transition into different mentality, different grammar, spelling, things like that. So I think that's just a common thread for all of us who are on the scholar and outside of here as well. I guess for me, when it came to coming to this SCCC, was not that big of a transition because I was here I graduated from 8th grade and then all through high school. So my English at that point was already good and well, so I guess I can't really say that there was a big barrier. It's what happened during when I was at this SDCC, you know, but that's a different question. That's the next one. So we'll talk about it then. But for the most part, I guess just, you know, that's where I'm going to end on that one.
Okay, thank you so much for saying, Luda. Carol?
Yes, well, what I can say before I came to SCCC, and I'm going to go back as a student instead of as an employee, my first obstacles and barriers was being a first generation college student. I had no mentors, no one that I can talk to what is college. Even counselors from high school, they weren't very helpful at the time. And just pretty much like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I'm here to talk about it. So it's not knowing the steps. So now that I am a counselor, I can see where a lot of students get lost along the way, because I, as a student myself, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand the process. So navigating my way through college was a big obstacle. And the barriers came, you know, was transportation, because at the time I lived in Holyoke, and getting back and forth on the bus, 1 hour ride, another ride. So it was just transportation and not knowing college processes and steps. There was no easy way. We didn't have the technology we have now. But it was just, you know, the process of understanding college. And then once you're in the college, it's sort of like the culture of the college at the time. It was a little different. It was very different than what it is today.
Okay, very good, thank you. And I think, Carol, you touched on a little bit of our next question, which is, you know, while being a student at SCCC, how did you adjust to college? What challenges do you face? And how do you feel when you graduated, right? Big step. Okay, we'll start with Monica again. Carol, you can serve as a speaker again for Monica, she's not here. Okay.
Because I know her very well in her struggles when she was here. It was the English language became somewhat of a barrier when she was studying. So as a student, she had to work twice as hard. She had to go to the library. She practically lived at the library, and she had to write everything or record everything and then listen and translate everything. So for her as a student, even though it was challenging, she did it. She did great grades. She had excellent grades, and she was very dedicated to it. And I remember her coming to me a lot because she felt, one of the things that she did say to me, that when she came to SCCC at the time, she just felt like she had no one she can talk to. And I, being Hispanic, she came to me a lot and she felt comfortable. So I learned a lot from Monica as far as her struggles and adjusting. And little by little, I was able to introduce her to other students. And then eventually she was able to click. And that by itself, to this day, Helen is her friend, and another one of our friends who couldn't make it today, and as a panelist, Carmen Torres, and she also became friends with her. So if it wasn't because of that knit group, I think it would have been a lot more difficult for Monica to adjust to college.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing that on her behalf. Helen?
As for challenges, like I said before, the language, but I appreciate the teachers for second language that they really helped me a lot to go through. And there was a tutor at that time in the computer lab that she was Venezuelan, so it was a coincidence, and she helped me out a lot with the process.
Okay.
She also gave me a job with her in the computer lab. So wow, it would have been really hard for me. She wasn't there, and with the support of Senior, she was one of the teachers, and the support of Bonnie Mary. Oh my God, they were really, really good people. They helped me with any of my frustrations with the language and with the computers. And I did help a lot of students with typing their homeworks and stuff. And I think I felt like really warming environment. And it was found a lot of friends, and we have a lot of really, really nice environment in the English second language building. I was the only out here. I spoke Spanish. My cousins speak English only. So it was really hard for me to communicate and have a good relationship with them because due to the language. But I stood at school most of the time, and I think that was my second home back then. And I felt really, really, to be honest, I felt really happy with the teachers. They were really warming and nice and friendly. And that helped me a lot. Sorry for my baby in the background.
That's okay. Good. Thank you for sharing, and I'm really glad that, and I can relate to with that experience a little bit. I'm really glad that you were able to find what Carol talked about earlier too, is finding that connection, which is so important, especially when you're in a new environment. So I'm happy that you were able to find that. So,
yeah. Because we built this relationship together as friends, and we enjoy different programs in SCC. Every time we find something, we call Carol, let's go here, or Monica, we did soccer together. We did so many things. We had so many experiences together in college. So we had a nice group. We really had a nice group.
That's awesome. That's good. Luda?
So the challenges to adjust to college life is, I guess, more of a financial aspect of it, if I may say, because colleges are not cheap. One, you have a life to support, and probably there's a life that needs you to support them as well. Kids, I'm talking about. So the biggest thing was for me to adjust to college was the fact that I had to work full time because I had a baby boy at that time. He was like barely anything, literally newborn. Now he's grown and 15 years old. And the other one was us supporting through paying for school. That's really, really, obviously really hard to do, being on your own. So that was definitely an adjustment. And when people say, oh, you live a college life, I never had that chance. I mean, because at that point I was a young mom. So for me, my concentration was just to focus on school, get finances straight, and then take care of my son at that point. So college life was different, even though we did make the best of it. From my bio, you guys know I became a student body president. I've played basketball for SCC as well. College ball was really a lot of fun. So you had to make the best. You had to put goals together and just kind of go towards what you need to do in order to, not only for you to become the best, but for your life to become something good. So always staying on top, just goals, and having a great support. In my case, obviously, Carol was there always for me through tough and fun and all that stuff. And the girls, Monica, Helen, and Carmen, yeah, and a few other bunch of people as well. Same with teachers. Great support comes from you know, who you deal day in and day out. So I definitely have a lot of adjustment and a lot of fun at the same time, but it was all worth it, that's for sure.
Good, thank you. Carol?
Yeah, I can agree with Luda there too. Just thinking back when I was a student, adjusting to college was not difficult, but it was something that had to be done. So I never saw it as, you know, how difficult. I never put thought into how difficult it was to transition. I put it as, this is what I have to do. I have to go to class. I had to make sure that all like my financial aid was straight, because I came, you know, at the time my parents were disabled, so I qualified for financial aid, which I didn't even know that I could qualify for that. I had no clue about college. But like Luda, I also played sports. I played basketball. And so the challenges were just how to balance everything. You know, I was also working as a work study student, and I was also working part-time, going to college full-time, playing basketball. And that required a lot of your strength, and you had to do it. So I'm one of those individuals that whatever obstacles or challenges came through, I was always going to work through them, instead of thinking how they stopped me. I'm like a bulldozer sometimes, and I just bull right through.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Carol. So now we're going to move into life after SCCC. So what motivated you to continue your education, or those of you who went on to pursue more education, and or what motivated you to enter the workforce? And then there's a second part to that question, that during that time, was there any specific moment where you felt so empowered to take charge of your life? And we'll start again with Monica, but really Carol speaking on behalf of Monica.
Yes. Monica's just very busy at the time running U.S. medical supply store. She, you know, she works it with her husband. So she's constantly going back and forth, and it's difficult for her to chime in. But I can tell you that what motivated Monica afterwards to get into the workforce was the health field. She grew a passion for the health field and helping people, and she wanted to contribute one way or another. And she just felt good being able to help someone who was in need. So she had decided to come back to SCC and change her major. And then she worked in the medical field, and as a respiratory therapist. I gotta say, she has a knack for the health field, you know, and she really enjoyed working there. She just found it like her calling, you know, being able to work, especially for those who were struggling more with the quality of their life. So for her, it was being able to help people and contribute to their well-being.
Okay, thank you. Helen, same question to you. What motivated you to continue your education or to enter the workforce? What motivated you? What was your motivator after SCCC?
My motivation to go back to school was my kids. I realized that if I could offer them a a better opportunity, like a mother with, I have to be a role model, you know, for my kids. So I realized that that I needed to, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of nervous. Hold on a moment.
No, that's okay. Take your time.
And my friend spoke to me about a program that Berkeley College had, and he said it wasn't that hard having kids to do it. So I said, let me give a try. As I got in and I got my first classes, I fall in love with the classes. Like I say, the teachers I always says that the teachers make a big difference for students once if they have the really passion to teach. And they really did welcome me a lot, and they were supportive for me, and they were really understanding when I have
Helen, are you still with us? I think we might have lost Helen a little bit.
Every single class about the community. I studied human services, and I feel like I learned how to give more to the community than I used to before. So my motivation was my kids. I want to be that role model, and I want to teach them, yes, your mom went to college, and that's what I want you guys to do too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen, for sharing. Appreciate it. Luda, what about you? What was your motivation to continue or to enter the workforce for that matter?
Well, after Sccc, I did transition to Springfield College to graduate in business management. I also picked up sports and recreational management field as well, because that's something that I was always interested in. But what motivated the most is just you want to succeed, you have to work harder. It's stopping at associates was not even a question for me. It had to move on and get your bachelor's. This whole United States or the country or anywhere you go, they want to see education. They want, in order for you to succeed, you need to be educated. You cannot just sit and do nothing and everything will come to you. That's not how it works. It works when you work hard, you play hard, so therefore the motivation was there to keep going, to get what you need to get. In my case, was to get my degrees. And then from there, you kind of figured out where do you want to go to, whether it's, you almost kind of like mature and you're like, all right, well, what are you going to do next with your life? Are you going to continue education? Are you going to go to work? If you're going to go to work, what do you want to do? Are you happy with this? It's just a different mentality, so that was my motivational point of everything. It's just, you don't give up and you just keep going.
Hear you. Amen to that. Thank you. Carol, what was your motivation to keep going and, either to pursue your education after getting your master's or to be in the workforce?
Well, for me, after I graduated from Sccc, I had already attained a part-time, and then I was motivated to work because I had to support myself. I started living on my own. I was independent and I had to sustain myself. So work became a priority so I can be able to, sustain my life. And then that's when I became a full-on adult. By the age of 20, I was already living on my own and having my own apartment. And so I had no choice but to work. And then it wasn't until I came back to SCCC to work in the student activities office that I realized that my degree, yes, I can work in a administrative type of capacity, but in order for me to get to a higher status, I was informed by colleagues, well, you have to get your bachelor's. Unfortunately, working in higher education, you need to have your bachelor's and even your master's sometimes. And I learned that I realized that my career choice changed and I was more to business because I just have that mentality, and I decided to get a second associate's. And then I decided to pursue my bachelor's degree because in order for me to move from the capacity I was on, I needed more educational credentials. And that's what I did. And it took me very little time. It took me a long time to realize that because, again, being first generation college student, if you don't have anyone in your life or you're not surrounded with people who are like-minded, it's you don't grow. So in a way, this is, at STCC, I was able to see in order for you to move on, and working there made me see how important education is. And so I got my bachelor's done while I was working full time. Then I took a little break to become a mom. I plan everything in my life. And then I decided to work on my master's. And that took me like a year and a half to do too. It's just, I realized in order for you to get, like Luda mentioned, you gotta work hard, play hard, you gotta work hard, and then you gotta study hard, and then you be able to play hard later on. But it's a lot of dedication. So that's what motivated me in order to move up in what I wanted to do.
Would you say it was determination?
Huh?
Determination?
Determination to be able to move up. I wanted to grow personally and professionally. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Very encouraging, very powerful from all of you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. Okay. Now that you are where you are today, as we been through and talked about, all of you have accomplished a lot on your own rights. So now that you are where you are today, is there something that you could reflect on regarding things you may have done differently? So looking back at your experience, looking back where you are today, is there anything that you have done differently? And I guess we can start with Monica again, through Carol.
Well, I'll say very little to this book, but I do know that in my conversations with Monica, she probably would have wished if she would have picked a health career a lot sooner. There's a lot of obstacles that happened personally for her, but if it wasn't for that, she would have probably been in the health field a lot sooner. And like Luda mentioned earlier, sometimes life just takes over and then takes you in different directions. But for her, I know it would have been able to get the language down a little faster and then get the health care major she wanted a little sooner.
Okay, thank you. Helen, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Okay. Would you like me to repeat the question? Yes, I can repeat the question. So the question is, looking back and seeing where you are today, is there anything that you would have done differently? What would you have done differently?
Well, I'm thinking about it, life has a lot of challenges, and things always turns around different that we expect. I had a plan, but became a mother, and like I always, when I start a plan, I always finish my plans. So I didn't graduate from Sccc. I stopped a little bit at college, and I wish I could have continued right away. But I felt like it was really, it was hard for me just due to the second language to continue in college. I can imagine being busy as a mother that wouldn't be able to read more and be able to have enough time. But I always kind of accomplished. I live my life as in a fullest. Every day I would try to live the best I can, and I always try things. And that's why my recommendation is for everybody. Resources are out there, and we just gotta look for it. It's not gonna be in our eyes, but we can ask, and we will find them. Sccc has great team. They have a lot of counselors, which I didn't know at some point, but then when I discovered, I start using them. They're really good. They're warming. They're really nice people, and it's like I always says, resources out there. When I started studying for human services, I found a lot of resources that I didn't know, and we just gotta look for them and growth, because women deserve to grow. Women have the opportunities to become what they want. It just takes a little bit of us, and when you find a challenge, just keep going and keep going. Just leave things behind and keep going, because we are powerful in our community.
Okay. Thank you, Helen. Luda?
Well, that question is a good question. Honestly, no, I wouldn't change anything or would have done anything differently. You know why? Because where I am at today is what made me from those experiences. The only thing that I can recommend is for myself and for whoever is listening is the fact that set goals, work hard, and you will be where you need to be at the right place at the right time. And just take it at one day at a time and just keep going slowly at it. But would I change anything? No.
Okay, thank you. Carol, would you change anything?
Well, I would. Similar to how I knew Monica, because of my lack of knowledge of the college process, I wish I would have continued on maybe work and continued on, because at the time I didn't have kids and I could have, but I didn't know. So it wasn't until my working sick that I learned the next things, because again, I was surrounded by people who've been through the process before. And I wish that I could have just gotten my degrees, and that's including my bachelor's and master's, a lot sooner if I had known. However, I think over time, the way it happened, it just happened. I kind of learned to just adjust and like quickly and transition as fast as I can. And I just pretty much go through life like I mentioned earlier. But I think that's the only thing I would think about. And that's why today, as a counselor, I try to give my students the best advice when it comes into their life. And I give them a couple of scenarios like plan A, plan B, plan C, just so they understand what they can do and what they're in control of. So now that I have that experience and knowledge, I'll just pass it forward.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for sharing that. So we're going to move into our last question. And the question is, after 16 years, what does International Women's Day mean to you?
For Monica, I am going to say for her, International Women's Day is a day for celebration and having, you know, friends, females, women come together. And she has definitely been a pioneer in the International Women's Day celebration. And I know for a fact every single year, there's been a couple of years we haven't been able to like meet because I either became a mother or was away or whatever the case may be. But I know for a fact that she would meet with her friends and colleagues, and she would bring everyone together. And like I said, it started with 5 of us, and the events that I've gone with her, she's had over 20, 30 people, and together we've been able to make it even bigger. But I know for her, International Women's Day means a lot to her, and she always gives everybody yellow flowers. So she's like definitely the pioneer, and she's humble about it. She's very humble about it. So it means a lot to her.
Thank you. Helen? Please.
For me, International Women's Day was, I didn't know much about it, but when I discovered with the girls, we have this good relationship and with these good meetings. And now every year, I expect to be there for them. I expect to see the meetings. I go to the Monica's, I go to Carol's one. I really enjoy going to these meetings. And we have this good relationship. We have this nice connection together. And I think I feel like every time I go to these meetings, I understand more and more about our side, how we can grow. I understand what women go through in life and how we can together become better and powerful in our community. So I really love having these meetings, and I enjoy every single one. And when it comes January, I say, here we go, let's get ready. And I really appreciate Monica and Carol that they took over and does these nice meetings for us.
Thank you. Helen? Luda?
Well, after 16 years, and honestly, it's been a while since I attended with the girls. That's because I live on the other side of the state. So to travel for these events is a little bit different and challenging for me. But overall, the meaning of this International Women's Day, pretty much what I see is like empowerment and support of and encouragement of each other, whether we're women or young girls who are still being growing up. It's just, I don't know, it feels good. It feels empowering, and it's good to be there for somebody else who needs help. And it's good to be there, and it's good to have somebody there when you need help, you know? So, and as Carol and I were really good friends with Helen and Monica. I haven't seen them in a little bit, but when we do, it's just like big reunion, you know? So it's definitely I highly recommend and encourage people to have that support, to attend these events, and it's great. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Una. Carol?
Yes, for me, after 16 years, what International Women's Day means to me is being able to continue the connection with your friends, build new connections with new friends, and welcome all women to be part of it. Because at the end of the day, women make things happen, not just at their house or with their family, but they make things really, like they roll the red carpet out for a lot of people. And coming together, it just, for me, just means building and networking, because we never end to build and to make new friendships. And I encourage everyone to be a part of it. And I have taken it upon myself to make it a little bigger, because I want to reach out to more people to let them know that they are important. Women definitely make a difference. And I just want to be able to continue the tradition, continue seeing my friends, see how they evolve, and just be proud of everybody's accomplishment. I think everybody deserves that. That's what it means to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, all of you. It was great. It was definitely, I want to go back to some words that were said about, building connection, building that community, and also giving each other encouragement and that sense of empowerment. I'm honestly, I'm a male, but I'm walking out really inspired by all of your stories. So thank you for sharing it with me. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move into the Q&A session of the presentation, where the panelists are going to be able to take questions from our participants today. So if you have any questions, please put it in the chat, and I will do my best to get to each and every one of them. So now's your time. If you've been itching to ask a question from the panelists, that was your time to ask. Okay. I have a question, I guess, just a quick one. If you could give any word of advice to any student in particular who is thinking about or wants to join SCCC, but they're not sure on whether or not they could make it through, what would it be? Any advice, any word of advice? And I'm gonna open up the floor. Any of you ladies can jump in and answer that question.
I'll go first.
Okay, thank you, Luda.
I honestly highly recommend Springfield Technical Community College for those who are thinking about joining school or not sure if they want to join a school. They have, STCC has great resources, has great professors, has great support. It's a smaller school, it's affordable. It's a great place to start to build your education and going forward. I had a great experience there. I met a lot of great people, great support network. Till this day, still friends with many of them. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity just to set your goals, move forward and stick with it. And STCC is a great place to start. That's for sure.
Thank you, Luda. Okay, I do have a comment for Carol from Kimberly. She said for Carol, I really need to say that I appreciate everything that you do for us at SCCC. And I have a question for you. Besides SCCC, who did motivate you through your life? Said anybody in particular, family member or any friends?
That's a really good question, because I've been asked that before. I never really put too much thought, because I don't want to come off of saying me, but in reality, I want to say it was my father. My father was the one who said, all you have in this world is education. And I liked school from when I was young. I never had an issue with school. But as time went on, the person that I realized who motivated me, it was being able to having the ability of being my own person. And my parents never quite encouraged me because they didn't know any better. So little by little, I'm very goal oriented. So I think over time, I started taking over and knowing who I was. And I knew that if I wanted to accomplish something, I had to set goals and start moving towards that. So the people around me then started being the people who motivated me. So I always try to surround myself by good, positive, motivated people. And I stayed away from the negativity. So I want to say wherever I went, people who I met who were positive motivated me. Even those people who were negative kind of motivated me not to go that route, you know? So I think overall, I observed a lot and I learned a lot from where I was and who I was living, what I wanted and what I didn't want. So that's how or who motivated me. A lot of people. It's collective.
Very nice. Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions or a panelist or comments?
I just wanted to say to the panelists, my friends and colleagues at some point that, you know, this was done with the intent to show everyone how important you all are in your own life and in everything you do. A little drop of water can do a lot of ripples eventually, and that's what you girls are in general. You guys are powerful. You work very hard and very dedicated. So I think overall, this is to showcase all the hard work you all have put year after year, day after day. So I just wanted to say, girl power.
Okay. See, we do have a comment from Lydia Flores. All did great. Okay, good. And then Luda, there's a question for you. What is your favorite food to eat?
Pizza. I love pizza. Any food. I love food.
Pizza. Okay. So pizza, good. All right. Anyone else? I believe we still do have a few more minutes. So if anybody has any last minute questions, thoughts, comments.
I want to know more from Luda. Luda, like, how has it been the last couple of years, your new transition, you know, where you're at?
Meaning with my job?
Your job, yeah, in the new place. You know, how's it been?
You know, Carol, it has its days, you know, it's not all peachy and go happy, jolly type of deal. You know, you gotta have your own days, but the transition between works was fantastic. I definitely got super blessed with the fact that I love what I do for a living. I'm an internal auditor. I've been doing that for almost 6 years now. So I started off with State Street Financials as an internal auditor, and it was a great stepping stool to get to where I am now. And when the new casino was opening up here in Encore in Boston, when I applied, you know, our team is tiny, and I had the opportunity, I got selected to become one of the senior internal auditors here. And it's just been fantastic. I think I absolutely love my job, what I do, in every aspect. Like, I don't even feel like I'm going to work when I do log in or when I do have to go to the property and do things there. And the hours could be crazy and the hours could be normal, but it's been good. And definitely with the going into the casino industry, it was a big step up in the financial aspect to the point where I was able to save up enough money. And last year we bought a home. So it's been definitely a blessing, and I'm really, really grateful for that.
Okay, thank you. So it is that time so we're going to wrap up. Again, thank you to our panelists for their time. But also thank you, our participants, for joining us today. Please be on the lookout for other events from HIGH. You will definitely be getting those emails, and we hope that you can join us again. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.